So we have like maybe 40 minutes. So in this 40 minutes, what I hope to do is kind of inspire you and help you see the importance of looking for what you love, and maybe dealing with some fears that you have, and maybe some ways that some steps you could take going forward. I'm a life coach, and if after this session it's benefited you and you want some more one-on-one, you can reach out to me. I'm doing coaching now, and I love helping people kind of figure out their dream and then start making practical steps towards that dream. So with that said, maybe just a couple of people could write, why do you think it's important, or do you know, if you think it's important, to do what you love? Maybe a couple of responses. What?
May I start?
Oh, sure, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, you have all the energy that when you are doing something you love, you give that energy to that and you feel satisfied afterwards, because yes, I think it's more like emotional based.
Yeah. I kind of think of emotions kind of gives you that motion, right? Gives you the, you might have the best plans in the world, but if your emotions aren't moving you, then it is really hard to get momentum. Good. And maybe one other thing. Why is it important for you to avoid fast burnout? Oh, good. Yeah, we burn out, and I'm going to share a little bit about that. How I burn out. Good. Okay. Well, let me just show you a diagram really quick, and then I'm going to launch into my story a bit. But I can share the screen, right? I'm going to share the screen.
Yeah, sure. You can share.
Oh, okay. I'll share it. And okay, here we are. Hope this works. Show selected. Now you can see that?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet? Oh, wait. Maybe I have to hit done. Is that right? Show selected. All right. How do I do that? Add show selected. Done. No. Okay. Why is it not? Oh, there we are. Got it. Sorry. Okay. Now you can see that diagram, right?
Yeah, just not fine.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about strengths, because I think that this can help you in figuring out what your dream is, or helping you even to stay in that zone. So each of us are built. God has built us differently. We have different wiring, different strengths. Okay, yeah, productivity is higher. Good. And what happens is, we have these natural strengths and talents. And, when you're born, you begin to develop, you kind of add to those strengths, right? You tend to do what you love. If you watch kids, they often are doing what they love. But what happens is, school starts, and in school you get many more different skills, and so a lot of things that maybe we're not necessarily strong at, we're learning to develop, right? College is the same way. If you notice, these skills now are being built further and further away from your strength base. And then you get into your career, you begin to work. And oftentimes, unfortunately, we get into careers where, we need to make money. And so we kind of just end up in a certain field, but oftentimes it's not necessarily what we are strong at. And if I remember statistic correctly, like 80% of people aren't really satisfied with their jobs, which is kind of sad to me. So if you notice, then, so we're building out these skills that are further and further away from our strengths. Maybe we might be trying to, or maybe weaken areas. So we're trying to add skills to counteract that weakness. But what happens is challenges come in life. You see the challenge on the top, 2 arrows. And if you're building away from your strengths, you kind of tip over. You're not balanced anymore. And it can end up showing itself in different ways. Like for me, there's a time in my life I was kind of depressed for about 3 years. I'm one of my roles is pastor, so I was a pastor, and I won't give you all the details, but yeah, I love being a pastor on one hand, but there were many things about it that really drained my energy, and but I thought that, well, this is what a pastor does. This is how it should look like. And I was trying to meet the expectations of people. And what ended up happening though was I became very unhappy because I was doing a lot of things that were not in my strengths. And what happens is I was getting criticism, you know, because I wasn't doing a good job and I was trying very hard. I don't know if you can identify with this, but I was doing my best, but it just wasn't a strength. And so I would get discouraged until it came to a point where the depression was so bad, I had to really address this. And by the way, I think depression, and again, I'm not a licensed therapist, so this is my experience, but that depression really was kind of a wake-up call to me. I found out, I realized later, because I wasn't going to make changes in my life. But once that depression came, it's like there's this emotional pain that really forced me. I had to face this. I had to do something or I wasn't going to survive. I felt like I was just going to break into 1,000 pieces. So I began to just think through, and luckily I had a mentor at that time. And I would definitely recommend, you know, having a good friend, having a mentor or a coach. It's really, really great having somebody like that you can talk to about your life. And you may have several of those kind of people. And I think it's really, really helpful. And so I was talking to my mentor about this, and you know, he was older, and he was actually at a place where I wanted to be. You know, he had now again, this is talking about pastoral ministry. So you know, just as an example, but he had helped start these church communities, about 1,000 of them across the former Soviet Union, and these communities were places where people could come and really connect with each other and grow and learn about God. And what I really loved the fact was he was starting these different things and just more of a facilitator. And that's where I wanted to be. And he began to just share with me that he saw the same things in me and he saw the same strengths. And that I'm a starter. I like to start things. And so one thing I realized about myself was I'm more of an entrepreneur. You know, I like to start things, but I lose enthusiasm when I have to manage and grow something. And so as I began to realize that and realize, well, this also can be very useful in my line of work because there's always a need for starting new things. But then I began to understand, well, then there's others who have that strength to manage and to create systems. Now it's a really shortened version of the story, but I began to, as I began to move more into my strength, I began to enjoy what I do. And then in a few months, I realized I'm not depressed anymore. Those depressing thoughts are gone. And I'm beginning to enjoy what I'm doing, and people are responding, you know. So and I love getting responses from people. So maybe one very specific thing was another area was, you know, as a pastor, a lot of what I did was speaking, and I do not like, often don't like public speaking, and I thought, well, I'm just a bad public speaker. But as I began to kind of experiment with that, I realized, no, I am a good speaker, but it has to be in a way that in my style, which I found out was more kind of a storytelling style, because I love telling stories. And then, you know, instead of maybe trying to build a logical presentation, you know, like these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and then adding stories, I would do the stories. This is how I do it now. I'll do the stories, then I'll add the points at the end. And here's the conclusion. And so it kind of ties things together, but it gives me the freedom to tell the story. Just an example, but looking at how can I do this better, or how am I built to do this? So, and now I really much more enjoy public speaking. And of course I love interaction as well. So I try to always work that in at the same time. Okay, so that's and so as I went to my strengths, you know, I became much more stable, much more enjoyed things a lot more. But I just want to pause for a second. You know, what thoughts do you have about what I'm sharing, or any questions? Feel free to jump in.
That's really cool that you are a pastor also. That's really interesting. And yeah. I see that you, when you faced the issue, you decided to take approach to find a mentor for yourself, someone better and older than you. It's something you do, and just to ask a question. And my question arises is, how do you what do you think about like psychologists and all of this?
Mhm.
And how is your coaching different from the psychology? Because
Yeah.
I see a lot of differences because I study this field and it's
Yeah.
really interesting and relevant for me. But I'm really curious on how exactly you decided to go with the path of coaching, and how do you decide that it's better way?
Mhm. Right. That's a good question. That's a great question. Often people ask that. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not a therapist, but I am a licensed coach. And I'd say the difference is, like therapy is more about getting healing, maybe emotional healing, and coaching is more about taking action, forward momentum. So, there's again, I think therapy, there's a place for that. And I read a lot about that too, because I'm learning. So there's a lot of overlap. So I'm often dealing with people when I'm doing coaching. There's some emotional issues that I think coaching can still help with. And I've actually worked with one client. They said, "Man, your one coaching session was worth a year of therapy." So not to say therapy is bad. It's just it's different. So therapy is more you're getting healing from maybe past experiences, and again, coaching, you look at that like in coaching, I want people to connect with what's going on inside them, because I'm trying to create some awareness. In coaching, what the idea is that I'm letting you bring the agenda, bring what you want to talk about, what's on your mind, what do you want to work with, and so I'm trying to help somebody find what they really want to do, what they really want to work on, and oftentimes it brings up what I want to do is create awareness about that topic, because people often don't know what they want to do. And so by asking some questions, I can help them find what they really want to do, and then get some awareness on where they are with that, or why they're not taking steps forward. Why are they procrastinating? Maybe there's some emotional issues, some experiences that they need to kind of recognize. And so there is a little bit of psychology there. And that's why I'm trying to learn more about psychology. So I, can bring a little bit of that to the table. But again, that's not my role. So I always want to be careful. And if somebody really does need counseling or therapy, I would refer them. Hope that answers your question.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's just really curious and interesting for me, because when the psychologists see that you have a mental issue which they cannot handle, obviously, they usually send you to the psychotherapist, I believe, for psychiatrist. But they usually don't send you to coach when they see that you have to make proactive actions in your life, and they usually don't really recognize when you have to make proactive actions and not like talk about your feelings about these actions, like in psychology way. So with my experience, it was usually even harmful sometimes, where I really had to take something proactive in my life to change something, but we instead just decided to talk about it, to explain me my emotions.
Yeah, that's good. That's good point. Because I think part of therapy in some sense is being able to take some steps forward, take some responsibility, and take some action. You feel good about yourself, right? When I'm actually seeing some progress, and I think that can actually lift your spirits, lift your mood, as you, instead of just talking about it. Because I get what you're saying. Like recently, I was actually facing something where I was kind of just stuck in my emotions, but not able to move forward. And so it's always helpful to, well, first of all, have somebody to talk to work that out, and then having somebody ask those questions that would help you then take some steps forward, so you can see some forward progress. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's always good for us to know, like therapists to know about coaches know about therapists, and figure out how we can really kind of complement, complement meaning to make each other's work more valuable. I can fulfill
Yeah,
my
like
goal.
interact with each other, because it is really helpful sometimes to
Yeah.
take actions, and sometimes to just talk about it. And both models help me. But
Yes.
sometimes I just understand that if I hadn't like figured out that I have to take actions instead of talking right now, I would have
Yeah.
lost a lot of experiences.
That's good. Very good. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, just to add, I guess it's
Mhm.
psychology is more about, well, unlearning destructive behaviors and just healing from past traumas. And it's really just on a deeper level. But I guess if you can agree with me that life coaching is more about bringing out that potential and directing the energy you have. in order to find some sort of purpose, find something that you like, to kind of like solidify what psychology does pretty much, right?
Yeah, I think that's really good. That's good. And I think another area of commonality, as you're mentioning that, is both of them, I think, well, actually coaching is more like a positive psychology, where positive psychology is more solutions focused and less about kind of looking at going, maybe labeling some of the problem, but more like, okay, how, where would you like to be? Visualizing that and kind of getting healing by visualizing where you want to be. So coaching is closer to that. But I think both of them, the commonality I would say, it seems to me, is that both the coach and the therapist needs to be able to listen well and learning those skills of listening. It's amazing how much just listening to somebody, reflecting that back to them, brings both healing and forward momentum. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but because rarely, actually, I think it's in our days especially, few people really feel they've been listened to. And one of the greatest things you can do for somebody is actually listen to them, reflect back to what they're saying. You don't have to agree, but just don't say, okay, I hear you. I hear you're saying this and this, and then checking in with them. And they say, no, actually, I meant this. But, having somebody kind of reflect that back to you in a loving way, I think it can help both heal and also help you realize, oh, I could be doing this. This is where I could move forward. So anyway, that was maybe not totally related, but I think both therapy and coaching, I think, is best done when you have really start with that base of listening. Great comments. Good. Anything else? Okay, so we're talking about the importance of moving into your strengths. And I just found the statistics. 81% of workers are not using their skills, feel that they're not using their skills or not being utilized. And that's probably, I think it was taken from the States. But I would say that that's probably a common experience, that you don't feel like you're realizing your potential. And I think it's such a blessing when you can. It's such a great, when you can do what you love and be able to make a living, it's just great. And I really wish that for many people, probably because my experience, when I was doing what I didn't like, even though I liked the profession, I didn't like what I was doing. And being able to just experience that excitement and passion, is very helpful. Okay, is there a question there or comment? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see. Where could I go from there? So in the strengths thing, so I moved back into my strengths as I was realizing those, and I can leave you some tools to find your strengths. There's a good website where you can take a free test and kind of identify some of your strengths. So I think that can help in figuring out what you want to do. So maybe some other questions would be just like, what makes you feel most alive? What have you done that you kind of lose track of time? I think those can kind of be some good indicators of what really gets you going. And I do believe, that we're here for a purpose, and each one of us has some unique contribution to make. Actually, I can share the story of my my wife. Her name's Sharon, and she's a writer. And from her experience, we have 6 children, so you can imagine, how busy we both are, and especially her, because she has tended to be more taking care of the kids. Although we both take part in it. Actually, I'm doing more now. But just from the, kind of the what she heard from society and from her upbringing was that as a mother, you really don't have the right to have needs, which, is not true, but she kind of believed that and would, 6 children. And they're all boys, by the way. So a lot of energy in our house, ages 5 to 17. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so you can imagine just a lot of time, but she loves, actually, she loves being with the kids and growing them. And I'll share a little bit more about our approach to raising our kids. It's very much about helping them reach their dreams. But she kind of came to this point where she didn't feel that she had the right, she had to serve others, and she wasn't really taking care of herself. And I remember having this conversation with her, and it was a very difficult one because it turned out that, you know, she was really hurting and she wasn't really kind of withered inside. And it was kind of I felt hurt because, you know, because I wanted her to do well, and I felt like I'm being a bad husband. But it was a very important conversation because it really turned our relationship around and turned around what she was doing, and she began to realize, well, no, it's actually, this is important that I do what I love, and I really believe in that you owe it to yourself and to others to do what you love, because then you thrive and you cause others to thrive. And so, long story short, I began asking her questions as a coach, like, what would you really love to do? And of course, she loves writing. And one time I asked her a question, is what would you write about? What message do you want to get to the world? And she kind of thought about it for a while. So long story short, now she just finished the first draft of her book. Not just, it was actually a few months ago. She's getting really close to finishing editing this book. And I think it's going to be an amazing book. It's the memoirs of our evacuating from Ukraine and just the whole experience as living as refugees here. And, you know, not that we've had the worst experience. No, we've been blessed, but just to share that, our story. And I think it's going to be amazing. I've already read parts of it. It's great. And it's just fun watching her as she blooms, as she can sit at her computer and just write for hours and just lose track of time. And she actually had before that, she had a job where she was working as a translator and editor, and it was paying pretty good money. And actually, but then she realized, you know, that's not really what I love to do, and I really would want to do this. And so I encouraged her, said, go for it. You know, we can handle the finances. And actually, the job that she was working at she said, oh, don't leave. We'll double your salary. but we had made the decision, and I don't regret it at all, because she's just come alive, and I benefit, you know, as a husband, you know, benefit from that energy. And then also both of us really feel strongly about our children doing what they love and what they're passionate about. Like in this diagram you see here, right? They were in a Ukrainian school. So by the way, the four oldest are fluent in Ukrainian because I went to Ukrainian school. I'm fluent because I went through high school and Shevchenko University. So they're fluent. But then when we moved to Hungary, we were deciding, like, what do we do now? You know, should we learn Hungarian? I mean, that's a whole new language. What we decided was, because we've been thinking about this for a while, was we went to homeschool, and we were using a program from some friends of ours who, what they do is they focus on the passions and gifts and talents of their children and try to kind of bring that out, and try to kind of, if you see this diagram, try to be more on the strength side, building on their strengths. Not that they would not give them new experiences, but really kind of focus, like looking and using coaching and mentoring to get their children to really do what they love. So for example, you know, my oldest, well, he's tried different things. So I feel like at home, it's a time where they can try, and because, you know, there's some kind of financial security and safety. So he ran his first marathon at 16 in Vienna, and he loved running, but he's kind of now gotten really into cooking, you know, so he wants to be a chef, and he's doing great at that. And so we're kind of like, part of the school program is him learning about cooking. Right? So we kind of tailored the school program more towards that. I mean, he does a few things he doesn't like. He doesn't like math, not like his dad. And then I have a second son. He wants to be a pilot, and he's working at you know, studying for his pilot license, and has a flight simulator that we bought because we want to invest in his passion. You know, the third son, he started out wanting to do a bunch of programming. He's 13. And at 12, he was doing programming. He was learning Python, but realized that he actually likes music more. So now he's working at recording music on his computer. And along the way, we're also looking at how can this become some way they can make money too. So, and the other younger ones are still working on what they want to do. But, well, actually, the fourth one, I don't know why, but he's totally into demographics. He loves populations, fertility rates. And he can look all day at these different graphs, and he's just excited by it. And he's 11 now. So anyway, so just give you a picture of like what we're trying to do as parents is we want to foster these passions, and I'm using a lot of my coaching in parenting by asking them questions. Okay, so we're at 128. Any thoughts or questions? I haven't really looked at the chat because I don't want to be talking about stuff you don't not helpful. 6 children, yeah. Okay, any directions you'd like me to take? I can keep on talking, but I want to address those issues that maybe you would have. I could talk more about how do you find your dream. I could talk more about I don't know, developing that or.
Can you tell me a little more about how your coaching is different from the pastor work? Because I know that pastors are usually like can be people who can give advices and who can direct some people in their lives, and it's a person who some people religious come to for telling them the stories about their lives. And how is it different from the pastor's job, or maybe it's so similar that it's actually not really distinctive? And why did you decide to go that way if you have already like role of pastor, which is essentially like the same?
Yeah, okay, it's good. Those are really good questions. Well, I think so. There's a peer coaching, you know, where peer coaching is where I don't give any advice. I mean, very little advice. It's more just asking questions to give a person awareness and understanding of what steps they want to take. And ask questions also to kind of, in some sense, you know, when they figure out what they want to do, give them a little push so that they'll maybe move into action. But it's always what they want to do. So yeah, coaching is very much about what the client wants to do. Now, but you can take coaching and then use that coaching approach in different areas. You can mix it in with consulting. So for me, with pastoral work, I use coaching a lot because I'm doing a lot of leadership training and team building. So a lot of times, a lot of what I do is instead of just giving commands is what I'll do coaching questions because I want to actually help people make decisions. And also, I'm a very firm believer in teams, and I could do a whole seminar on teams. I've built and developed, you know, many teams along my way, and I love that. I love the team dynamics, even conflicts. You know, it's fascinating to me how we can build, you know, have constructive conflicts. And coaching helps in that because what I'm trying to do is, you know, as we're working as a team, I want to bring awareness to what's going on. I want to ask questions like, what do you actually want to accomplish? You know, and get the participation from others, you know, and so coaching can help foster healthy team dynamics. And again, it's great for raising up leaders. Like for me, so I'm a pastor, but actually I'm in an area, time in my life where I want to be more mentoring. I don't want to do less of the groundwork, but actually helping others be successful as, you know, Christian leaders and influencers in society. So I hope that helps or not. But anyway, so I use coaching as a tool in my coaching. And also, like you're mentioning, what was the thing you're mentioning? Forget what it is. Oh yeah, what drew me to coaching was, I think I was in that depressed state and I was really looking for somebody to mentor me, which I did find later. And when I heard this, what coaching was about, I was thinking, wow, first of all, I need that. And secondly, I want to give that to others. I want to be a coach. You know, once I kind of figure this thing out, I want to help others with that because so many people need coaching and somebody just to come along and believe in them and ask the right questions, give them clarity. So, and so at first I was doing coaching with people who were starting church communities. And I say church communities because I think oftentimes we think of churches as like an event, or where I think of a church as it's a community of people that work together, that help each other, partner together. So it's very much about sharing your life together. So that was my first intention, was to help people who are starting these communities. Because I like starting. I love the entrepreneur aspect of that and seeing growth. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Is that, and I'm using coaching for parenting, like I said. So I use coaching in many different areas. Okay, anybody else? What's something to share?
Анна Горденко.
Okay.
Hello. Thank you
Yes,
so
hello.
much, George. It's very interesting for me that also spiritual people using this and also they like are somehow connected to the business because I have my own business and I'm going to be a wife of the priest. So for me it's very cool topic.
What's the last thing you said? I'm sorry. What's the last thing you said?
That I'm going to be a wife of the priest.
You're going to be what? Sounds a little bit muffled.
No, we could not hear you properly. Maybe some problems.
So I wanted that for me it was perfect to have this lecture. I just jump in, and it's absolutely like touch my heart because I have my own business in different countries, and I'm going to be a wife of the priest. So it's
okay.
Connect these two words.
Yeah.
My first question would be like, are you open like to get more people to be
yes,
coach?
yes,
Are you
yes, I would love that.
And like how we can get in contact, and second, how you talk about your children, and that you help them to find the ways they want to do what they want to do in life, but how you communicate about which question in coaching can help to understand that you also are ready to accept the second side of your loved job. For example, I want to be a businesswoman, but it's also I have to be flexible. I have to sometimes convince people, learn more, or I don't know, don't spend so much time with my children in future, or like with my family, and like how to coach yourself that you're also ready for this bad side in what you're doing. Because it's nice to talk, I want to do this, I want to be a musician, yes, but like it means that you are at home and you train, and sometimes it's hard for us to accept the second point, because we love to see the pictures that I want to be on the big scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but like have to understand that it's the way I want to go. Maybe you have some tactics.
Okay. For some reason my connection dropped out, so I heard part of it. So the question is, like you have two different roles, is that right? Or two, like you want to be, you're a business person, but also what's the second thing you're thinking about?
I'm going to be
a good wife, no?
Be a good wife. So you have different roles, and how do you manage those roles? Is that the question?
No, it was one point that like I didn't expect that like you would also like very touched my heart. So this is like is so important for me. That was just a point. My question was like how to coach yourself, or some question, or maybe some techniques that you also want to accept the second part of your job. I want to be on the musician, I want to play on the big halls, but I have to practice every day, I have to struggle.
Okay, so it's like the work you put in.
I want to have business in many countries, yes, but I have to work, I have to cry, I have to struggle with people, I have to prepare that some people will lie, some people will not. I cannot rely on. How to also like ready for this, not only for good things.
Just not only for the dreams, right? Well, that's a big, it's a good question, a big question. But I would say probably as first of all would be, as a coach working with somebody, I would first of all help them be clear on what they want to do. What's the big picture? What's like the big dream that you want to see happen? Actually, it's put this way. I heard it one way. I really liked the way it was put. Was to what question are you the answer? And that kind of points to your what you're here for, right? You're the meaning of your life. So, and oftentimes it's, to what question, or the answer is like actually to what person, or what, because we can best serve somebody who was in our position, whose position we were in before. Does that make sense? Like, what challenges have you overcome? And then oftentimes then that's the kind of people you're serving. That's the kind of people you're going to be helping. Just that's one way to look at it. But I would say be very clear on the big picture, and then maybe even think through, why does this motivate me? What would it look like if I was here, was living my dream? And think very about that. What would I do? How would I feel? What would I gain from this? So I think being very clear in the big picture, kind of, then you have that motivation to go through the hard stuff. And then for the hard things, I think is you would, again, maybe think about what's hindering me from my goal, or what challenges do I need to face, and then start taking them. And coaching helps with this, just taking them one at a time. What do I want to start with? And then taking some small manageable steps where you could see some progress, and don't worry too much about, oh, I'm not there yet, but more, okay, what little step can I take today? There's a book I would recommend too that's really helpful. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits. Oh yeah, it's a good book. Yeah, I really liked it too. Yeah, it's amazing. So it's about taking these little small steps every day. It's not about maybe having it's good to have some like year, 2-3 year goals, but it is more about taking those little steps every day that brings, gives you progress. So those are some ideas that just came to mind. And again, and maybe this diagram I mentioned before, I don't know if you saw the diagram, it was strengths and skills. I find myself going back to that a lot too, just thinking about, okay, if I'm feeling a lack of motivation, feel like I'm really kind of getting stuck and slowing down or depressed, I begin to think, okay, what am I doing right now? How am I spending my time? Am I working out of my strengths? Because I just realized that this beginning of this year, I was thinking, man, I'm just not really as motivated, and I'm just beginning to think of what I was doing. And what gives me energy is when I start things, when I connect people, help network, kind of build communities where people can help each other. And I think what I was trying to do, I was thinking more like, I want to see this happen, but realizing, well, I'm not supposed to make it happen. I'm supposed to be the catalyst. And when I'm the catalyst, I'm happy. So I began taking some steps to get myself back over my strengths, Hope that makes sense. But what do you, any thoughts there? Questions?
Please.
I have thought that if we all time are in ourselves where I want to be, but what if you are already there?
What if you're already there?
Enough.
Oh, okay. So the question is, how do you enjoy where you are?
Yeah, how you can enjoy if you're all the time thinking where I can go.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that's a little different. Yeah, being able to enjoy where you are at the moment. It's a good thing to do too, is to think, I guess for me, I would think about maybe more about what I'm grateful for right now. If I'm understanding you correctly. That's always good too. It's like to take a break and just enjoy the moment. And maybe that's where you're right now, just enjoying reading a book now too about that we often aren't able to have the pleasure of where we are, like enjoy it. In our culture is so fast, and because we can't really take the time to actually enjoy it, then we have all these other issues, all these other problems. So I think somebody else had a question. Who was that? So somebody was wanting to have a question there. Somebody else. I missed it. What was that? No? Oh, it was Vladislav Natochi. I saw you come up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yes.
Alexander, yes, you can.
I'm sorry, just was interrupted. Yes, there is one interesting moment that I've noticed by myself, where for example, I recently started to train myself on fast typing because it's really interesting for me. It's just a useful skill. And I found one interesting site, the like Type Racer, where you can race with other people by just like typing your text and just like competing with them. And what I found out is that when I really try to look at other people and compete with them, I really started to make a lot of mistakes, and also I was trying to adapt to their pace, but at the same time I was losing a lot on accuracy, and I was losing at the same time on accuracy and on the pace because I had to fix those errors. And the interesting thing that I've noticed that when I started to focus on my strengths and my little things that I do wrong instead of focusing on other people and their temp. I really started to advance in my skills in that particular area. So, for example, when I started to focus not on the pace, but for example, on my accuracy of the text, and I tried to do as little mistakes as it was possible, I was doing really good on pace at the same time. And that is really interesting phenomenon that I've noticed recently. And I remembered about this when you said about little steps that you make towards the progress, because it's always really hard when you see when you look only at the top of the mountain before you start climbing it. But it's much easier when you start thinking about the next step instead of just the top of the mountain, and also about yourself and how do you feel and how are you progressing and you feel about that. So that's just a little remark which is important for me.
That's great. Yeah, very good. Yeah. And we can, it sounds like to me like you can have those expectations from others and they can kind of pressure us instead of just focusing on where we want to be, right? And taking those small steps. And that's great. Yeah.
Yes, because you see somebody who is like ahead of you in some progress, and you are trying to jump over your head instead of just make a small jump, which is you are capable of right now at this point. And because of that, you just break your legs.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, totally. Well, I think it's 1:45. I don't want to go over my time. And I know we could talk for hours on this subject and so many different aspects to it. And I didn't really get maybe too much to the financial part, but I do believe once you kind of connect with what you love, there are different things you can do to help, to be able to make a living on it. But I think the first part is actually, I think, realizing how important it is. Is it important to you, and how important, and why it's important? Once you have that, I think then it may be working with others as well, finding a mentor, finding a partner. I'm seeing that today. There's a tendency, I think it's a good tendency, where there's more cooperation together. My wife, she's writing this book because she became part of a writing community. She joined this writing community, and now she's making a lot of progress because there's a lot of interaction, help. And again, I'm a life coach, and I'm accepting clients. So if this is something that's resonated with you and you'd like to have some more one-on-one time with me and we can do a consultation or get started coaching, you can find my website at lifedreamscoach.com. So lifedreamscoach.com, or go to my Instagram page, write me a message, George R. Marky. And I speak Ukrainian, Russian, English fluently. So
okay, can you please write your contact somewhere here maybe?
Okay. Yeah, I can. I think Ole will be somewhere where.
Yeah, I will do just now.
You do it now? Okay, thanks. So it's been just a pleasure talking with you, and I realize 45 minutes is a very short time to talk about this subject, but hopefully it's there's some thoughts that you can take away, and some questions that maybe will get you thinking more. I guess one more thought is that the habits, I think it's more about thinking about what kind of person do I want to become. And to get there, what's maybe think about this. What's the kind of person do I want to become? What are 3 steps you can take this week to get you there? Maybe that can help get you thinking.